Alright, so today I'm gonna start a new project of sorts. That is associated with the dent on my hood, so pay no attention to that. There's going to be some reimagining going on with this whole thing. So two wires out of here. By the way, like a lot of these wires are going to be cleaned up. As you see, I have a switch panel, and I am slowly migrating things from this mess of a thing there. This is not a priority to me. This is how it's been for the last 2-3 years. So there's two wires, which would be the red and black, that go all the way from here all the way to the back, right? And then they go through the frame, and they come out there on the back wall, which I've talked about. So that's the wire that's being taken out. I'm also going to be running wires from here to the switch panels to put rock lights on the Jeep. So there's going to be 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4, at least that component, right? The same exact rock lights are going to be mounted somewhere here-ish and there-ish, and also there-ish. Okay. There's a very high likelihood that these are going to come off. I don't know if they will yet. I'll have to get to it. But what is going up here are solar panels. And so there's going to be some pre-wiring being done to facilitate all of this. So I know there's going to be, I guess I locked it. There's going to be 2 panels there for sure. If I could hypothetically fit a third one, which I don't have, I'm gonna leave space for it in case I ever decide to. So there's going to be tons of wiring done on all of this, going from there this way and all this other stuff. Now, as you might imagine, on a day like this with loom and gloom, and all these processes are going to take a long time. I'm not going to film a lot while doing it, or probably at all. I'll just kind of give like a quick little run through of what I've done. There's going to be things happening, so one of the things I'll need to do is separate the wires obviously from here, snip the zip ties and put the new zip ties in to keep wires contained. And eventually this is all going to be clean, one thing at a time. Have my little dolly here for when I start crawling underneath the truck to take the wire out. And I'm also going to run a snake here, because as I'm running wires out, considering that I'm going to be running the wires back in, I don't want to have to do it twice. I could just pull something and get the wires through, kind of thing. Okay. So before I get further, just kind of touching base. So I've removed the kill switch over here, which used to be over there. I've undone all the wires of the studs. This is the wall snake that it looks like I'm gonna have to buy a new one. This one is getting a little bit too rusty, but it served its very long 18-year life with dignity and respect. So the snake is actually going through the wall of this down here, right there, as you could see how it's going there. And then it's going into the frame while I'm running the wires out. Okay, so in case you're wondering what this is jumper cables, 4 gauge. That's basically what that is. And so at the time when I was running it, I was like, I don't really want to be wasting my good cable for this project that I have yet to figure out. And good thing that I didn't, because this one has all sorts of nicks and whatever else in it. But anyways, you could see how the snake is just affixed to this. This is like one of those Chinese finger trap things. And now I'm pulling the last bit of it through here. Technically I don't have to, but since I'm already committed to this, I might as well, because it would be obviously far easier to just slide this down. But anyways, I'm gonna run the snake out this way so that I can detach wires and run it the other way. It's interesting to see like just what exposure to the elements does. So this was inside the engine bay, nice and protected, right? This was in frame, which you would assume is protected as well, but it's covered in all sorts of grime and mud, and despite the fact that it's never been in grime or mud. But get in there. Alright, so ran into somewhat of a snafu. I didn't do anything wrong, but just thought it's probably best addressed now. So as you see, I have two 14 gauge, I believe, 14 gauge spools of the wire. So the way I ran this was obviously from here to over there. And one thing that I have neglected to kind of keep note of, I wanted to run one for the rock lights and another one as a backup for in case I ever need to run anything ever again, so I don't have to go through this process. And then as I'm walking around all this thing, it dawned on me, these lights over here, so I am going to be having 6-inch lights up front, and I'm gonna have probably lights of this ilk somewhere in the back, which technically means I need a third wire. So what this means is that I need to run a third wire. Good thing I do have a third spool. So my options at this point are running the snake back out this way, and maybe it's gonna snag, maybe it won't. Or just tape a third wire and run the wires that way. Cause just thought I should point this out in case anybody's running wires to, when you think you have it all figured out, before you actually start running, give yourself a little bit more time to think about what are you forgetting, kind of thing. So these wires over here are already sticking out there. So while I could push them back in and run the snake back, so that's my dilemma. I'm gonna cogitate on that in a minute so I don't do any mistakes, but either way, need to run a third wire. Alright, so this video is not going to be about solar wiring. For that, feel free to watch my RV solar installs. So I've been kind of playing around with it. So right now I have 2 panels, right? Theoretically, if you put them like this, you could fit 2 here. And then theoretically, if you ever needed to, you could put one over there, like this, right? Or you could put all 3 this way. The problem most people are fixated on how am I gonna mount this, where am I gonna position it. What you should be concentrating on is how you're gonna be running wires, because a wire, in my particular case, is going to come from there, right? Which means that the wires are going to flip over the tent that way, and as tent opens, obviously the wire is going to be doing this number. But very important thing, all of your panels need to be oriented in a particular way to face that one thing. Like, for example, as you see, I have wires here, right? Well, guess what? If I have a thing over there, I'm gonna have to run an extra long cable and figure out how to mount this, right? So obviously the wiring has to be on that side. But if you have a panel like this and a panel like that, Hawk is having a field day today. You're gonna be running wires from here to over there, from that panel over here to like a solar connector, and then if you have a panel up here, you're gonna have to run it around the stuff over there. So all these things. Now the benefit to something like this, and I am super duper jealous, because as you know, I've had solar on my RVs historically, and just technology has evolved beyond limits. Now it's not going to be flush mounted as you see over here, but it is going to be elevated with a gap and all this stuff. But it's just how incredibly small this is, and just anyways, so what I'm gonna do after playing with it a minute, I'm gonna mount two panels flipped around the other way, that way, giving myself ample amount of space to run wires from 1, 2, and a 3 over here. I don't need a third panel, but if I ever choose to add a third panel, what I'm gonna have is I'm gonna have a way to add a third one and very quickly extend / run wiring to where it needs to be without a royal pain in the butt, because those are heavy lessons learned from my RV installs. So, and also I'm kind of sort of glad that the way these are spaced more or less, and I guess I'm gonna have to adjust this one over there, but each panel will actually fit in between these, meaning that I don't have to remove them, which I'm super happy about. So I'm either gonna have to, I'm probably gonna have to move this back one over here a little bit this way. So, but we'll get to that in a minute. I will kind of sort of show you what's happening. Let me just get down first. So the wires, I've ran them as far out as I could, primarily because it's going to be put into different places. This one up here, coiled, is for the lights, rear lights, kind of like ditch lights, basically, like these ones. By the way, those of you buying lights, don't get fixated about buying super duper high quality everything. Like this up here is from Walmart, and those puppies are bright as hell. $23. Same exact type of thing from one of those fancy, insert name here, $500 or something. Well, don't quote me on that, but you know what I mean. So in any event, those wires all through here, gave myself extra length because it's going to be connected to the aux beam switch panel. There is going to be as you see, this over here is red and black wire that you see right there, right? And that's the red and black wire that's going to the roof where the solar panels are. So they're going up 10 gauge, going up here. So it's gonna wrap around somehow that way. I'll figure out how to do that. My goal was to just get them through the hole. And then this is the wire for the ditch lights in the back. And also, I'm gonna need to run some wires up here for all the wiring that's going to commence with all the rock lights that are going to be installed over there. So I'll have to do that thing on my motorhome as well. So I'm gonna be running an extra wire through that hole over there in just a minute, specifically for the lights over here. So, and there is going to be a second switch pro panel up here. I haven't quite figured out where specifically I want to mount this. There's also going to be two batteries, one sitting right there, one sitting right there. They're going to be tied to that and this. I am not going to be running any great amount of amps through this. They're here specifically to run lights in the back, fridge in the back, and all this stuff, which means that this is going to be operational 24/7. So for those wondering, this is just a dual battery setup that a lot of overlanders use, except on a smaller scale, because I don't need super duper anything. Also, with respect to recharge rates of the batteries, what I've learned on my RVs is that you need to concentrate on being able to recharge the battery bank that you have, less having a larger battery bank, because there's no point in having a large bank if you can't recharge it fast enough. So tons more wiring to go in. This is just a quick update progress with this whole thing. Somewhat further along, not my proudest moment, to be honest with you. So this is here just temporarily so that I could at least mark everything up. I kind of had this vision about using these brackets, like L brackets, and just using Velcro, which works, except for one problem. There's apparently an angle there, yada yada, but whatever. You know what, for time being, just to mark things up. So as you see, I've connected the wires, you know, the ones that go from the solar panels and into the battery bank. Now the battery bank in this case is going to the two studs, and the two studs are connecting to the studs there and here on this side, wherever they are, like there somewhere, right? There we go. So there's going to be a second box in here for the switch pros, and so or switch panel, whatever it's called. So this is going to look somewhat different. I don't know how, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I'm supposed to be getting switch panel today, I think, probably. I'm taking, you know, things slow. So, and the reason why I'm taking things slow is because, once again, I'm making mistakes. Now, this is a no impact mistake other than wasting terminals over there on these wires. Again, like, I have completely forgotten that I was going to connect these wires to the switch pros. Yeah. So those wires over here are the ones that go to the ceiling over there. So for time being, I put wire loom in there. You could kind of see it over there. You know, ran all the wires in terms of their lengths, you know, up above. And my next phase was to figure out where specifically I need to mount the lights. That's when I ran into a bit of an issue. Again, because everything is a custom type. You know what? If you don't spend the money up front on something that you don't have to do anything to, this is when you're gonna start running into. But I'm doing everything DIY, so Had to mark the holes with a puncher. There's going to be 4 lights on this side, 2 red, 2 white. And using 5/16 drill bit to basically, like, this is just stupid. I hate when they put lights like that, because they have this foam piece, right? And they have this you know, like, you could use this to mark things up and whatever, but this doesn't sit flush to anything. And the only way to make it any sort of flush is to kink the wires, and I don't want to be kinking wires. So what I'm doing is I'm using this punch over here from Harbor Freight to punch a bunch of holes, drill. I'm gonna be drilling a bunch of holes too. So the wire basically goes here. I'm gonna use VHB tape. I believe that way I'm just gonna mount it properly like this, and it's gonna look, you know, nice and clean. And so the wires go on the inside, and the benefit to that is once I run the other wires, all the wiring is going to be hidden. So this is going to be, no, I could theoretically drill holes here, but what if I do it crooked like that, and it's just easier to use VHB tape, if you know what I mean. So I need to drill 3 more holes on this side and 4 more holes on the other side. I thought about putting them up here, and I almost marked things up, but then I completely forgot about this. This is for the moonshade awning. If I put lights in there, it will interfere with the moonshade awning. So as for the wiring and everything else, added a couple of wire looms over there, and there's another wire loom over there. So I did mark up a couple of wires with the black and the orange. That way I know where they are over there. You can see how I've even marked it midway in some places. Anywho, process goes on. In doing this, I did realize that I probably should have ordered more wires. I think, maybe, possibly. I know for a fact I don't have any scrap material left, because I threw a lot of it out because it was just too short for anything. So, but again, this is one of those things where I'm gonna save it for another weekend, because the parts to install the solar panels are going to be here mid next week, so I can't really do anything with it anyways. Another thing that I thought about is, since I'm gonna have electronic stuff in here, once I put the water jugs here or whatever, I'll have to put like a divider or something like that. But again, we'll get to it eventually. Alright, so as I'm standing here on a ladder once again, here's just a quick recap of what I did. Got some white lights installed, red lights installed, and currently running wires. I have those fancy waterproof type connectors. I'm gonna try them out. At this point, I've really tried every which way connector, and they all suck. So not for this project, but just generally speaking. So what I'm doing one at a time is connecting first the white lights, then I'm gonna go back and connect the red lights, and then my goal is to run the lights for the ditch lights, which are going to be mounted like there somewhere. So that's kind of how that goes. These are mounted with a VHB, and also I'm gonna be putting a wire loom on all of this, at least in the open areas. Like, you know what I mean. Alright, let me get back to it. Alright, 2 wires done. Sun is setting over there, so I think it might be a good time for me to take a break and go home. As you see, I've had a little bit of excess, which is good. If you have excess, that's always good, because you know that you haven't run short. So these are the wires with MC4 connectors for the solar panel. And so what I was talking about earlier is when this gets up here. So this would be good for those 2 panels over here. Third one, not so much, but at this point I don't plan to have a third one yet, or maybe at all. So I think I'm okay there. Either way, I'm gonna be moving this thing just a smidge. Let's see what else. So technically amber color is supposed to be attracted, so white color attracts bugs, amber not so much. I don't know, maybe it's an old wives' tale or whatever, but either way I'm gonna have 2 white, 2 red on either side. So in the back, because trying to get down safely, in the back, because of all this brouhaha, not so much. So tomorrow my goal is to wire up to here somewhere. I don't even know where to put my lights, to be honest with you. Like, this would be a most logical choice for me to hang them, but if I lift this, it would have to fit like there. So, but I think I should be okay. Like, if I could get me another pair of these, maybe, I don't know. Either way, as corny as it sounds, you can never have too many lights. Call it goofy all you want, but at the time when you need light in a particular place and you don't have it, makes things really nasty. So nice and tidy. And like I said, I'm gonna clean up the wires. This over here had a bit of a snafu. Technically speaking, those wires need to be inside of this. If I can't tuck them in, I'll just put a wire loom across. No biggie. And then there's gonna be wire looms for these that I'm gonna be doing tomorrow. This mess over here, it's for the rock lights for the vehicle. And you know what, while walking all around, I did realize I was so fixated on running cables to the back that I completely forgot about running cables to the front. But running cables to the front is so much easier, especially like once tapping into all of this. So yes. What else? I did get the Switch Pro panel. My goal is for it to be like here somewhere, maybe like up here. I don't know, don't hold me to it. My plans tend to change with the tides, but at the same time I don't want to be drilling extra holes or anything like that. Since all of my controlling equipment is over there, theoretically it makes sense to put switch panel over there, but comes with a lone cable to run and this and that and the third. So I don't know. that corner over there is going to be far less accessible, and the least accessible, just in terms of, so like this is something that you open on a regular basis. So having switch panel up here somewhere would be perfect, like maybe Velcro to this or something. I don't know, have to give it some thought. Decided to cut this out entirely. I actually don't need it here in terms of disconnecting everything. One day, you know, surprisingly, because everything is so tidy, I don't even have like a lot to show, like bam, I built a house kind of deal. But just about most of the day has been spent running wires, removing wires, cutting wires, splicing wires. So progress. Further along in the process, I have temporarily removed this and decided to make some changes, so ordered more parts. So it would be easier for me to have a separation rather than one straight line between there and the rest of it. So what I've done is I've taken the wires and pulled them in, and as you can see, I put wire looms everywhere. This way it gives me all this cable over here, solar cable, to move my charge controller basically anywhere. Another thing, as you see, I have my switch panel. I had to cut off a lead coming off here because it may, the way they design them is with small lugs that do not fit your standard anything lug. So I had to cut the cable off, crimp it, and all this other stuff. So this is meant for like a 4-gauge wire. I believe this is a 6-gauge wire, but I have a hydraulic crimper, so it has done a good job. The actual controller for it, I decided to put right there. And reason why is because here is just an awkward thing, and then I have to run the wires and everything. So there's that. Now as for I ran the wire and taped it up because I'm not quite at the point of installing this yet. For the lights over here, and same thing on this side. And then let me just get on the ladder. As you see, I've put wire loom everywhere. So these caps over here, they kind of look like regular electrical caps, but they have some sort of I guess it's dielectric grease inside of them. So we'll see how those hold out. Now there's a reason why I didn't do like a direct connect things of any kind, because historically they have always failed on me. They just did. I think the only one that really held up is right about, I don't know if I'm actually even gonna see it. No, I didn't do it here. So this over here is the wire for fog lights on factory install, and so I spliced into the wires elsewhere for these. So my fog lights, when I turn on the switch, activate ditch lights. So in any event, these wires I'm about to start doing next. Everything here has been trimmed and whatever. So another thing that I've done is I cut off the terminals that I wrongfully or wrongly, I guess. Can I even see them? Yeah, I guess you can. In wiring the lights. So I've tested the lights, like those ones over there, yesterday. Everything works. So all I've done was just taken some wire that came extra while wiring everything, and crimped it here so that I could again position my aux switch box just about anywhere. So the beautiful part about it is that it fits somewhere like here perfectly. The bad part is there's physically no way to adhere this to anything. Like there's like nothing. So what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be drilling some holes here, even for these, and just mounting this like here, or maybe here on top of the wheel well. Which is why I gave myself all this extra, because like if you think about it, right, if I mount this here, it's going to take away even more space here. If I mount this here, which is a wasted space right on top of the wheel well, it would be perfect. The downside is I'm not going to be able to see the charge controller, but the charge controller doesn't have any kind of digital output, so it doesn't really matter, I don't think. So theoretically, if I could put both of them up here, that would be super. What else? While I'm here, so carpet thing, that because I haven't glued it, adhered it in any way other than just by bolts that for this stuff over here. This carpet is being a pain. It shrinks and contracts based on the weather. It like shrivels up like this, and so if you guys are planning to do anything of the sort, just do keep that in mind. Now as mentioned, I haven't really adhered it to anything, but it's just something that I've noticed. Either way, yeah. The wire for this over here is going to go probably through this over there, and then probably through that over there, and then under or something. I'll figure it out. Just to keep it tidy, or maybe on top of this, like in a wire loom or something. Full steam ahead, I guess. So these are the rock lights that I plan to be installing. I have watched some videos yesterday about how people do them, and if there's one thing that I've noticed, it's that most people get them just for decorative use rather than actual use. So if you mount them here in the wheel well, it illuminates the tire for the show glow, versus if you mount them way down below, it allows you to actually put light where you want it. My problem is because I'm cheap. Oh, see this? Still dealing with that. Anyways, but that's permanent. My goal is to mount them as low as humanly possible somewhere, so that if I need to turn them on and actually use them as rock lights, they will actually be used as rock lights. But they do not have magnet anything to them, which is kind of frustrating a little bit. And I've actually thought about buying magnetic tape and just sticking them somewhere. But right now my goal is to just pre-wire what I need to pre-wire, and then we'll just deal with it as it comes. Alright, so here's what I decided. This is going to hang right where it is. I put a couple of screws right through the fiberglass. Same thing over here for the aux beam. Believe it or not, while telling you how excited I was about putting a lug on the positive, I completely forgot about putting a lug on the negative. So I had to add that as well. Tuck the wire that goes from here to the switch over there. So my next phase will be to do two things. One that I'm gonna do today, and the other one I'm at a mercy of time availability through the week and maybe the weekend. So I push the solar wires up here. That's why you see all this extra gobbledygook. I need to actually disconnect them from here and cut them, possibly, and just replug them back in. For time being, I'm just gonna leave that as is, just in case I want to move that over there. I am really compelled to do that, but where it sits right now is almost perfect. So I don't know. I'm just gonna, at least to get to and from work for a week, I'm gonna leave it there. There's a very high probability it's going to go right there. So for that, I need extra wire just in case, and for two reasons. One is to actually get it there, and two is to go from there back here to the lugs for the wires. But then the downside, I'm gonna have all sorts of wires here in the way, which is why I haven't decided yet. And I know that sounds confusing, but whatever. So the other thing that needs to happen is the positive thing from the Switch Pros. Now this in my pickup truck is actually connected to the fuse block, so that when you put the key in and whatever, this over here is always going to be on for the most part. And there's nothing here that's going to be super duper high wattage anyway, so even if I leave something on, it's not going to make or break anything. So what I need to do is clean up the wires, connect everything to the lugs, all this other stuff. I'm in the middle of other things as well, things that I've I'm talking about like around the house and yard work, that kind of stuff, that I'm also trying to catch up on. And so between that and that, it's been kind of sort of like a busy day. And yeah. Alright, so to the backdrop of a train in the background. These are the 3 panels that are going to go on top of the roof of the rooftop tent. Each one is 100 watts. This is a flexible solar panel. So this is what I have decided to do. I ordered a kit of T-slot channels. There are 6 in there, and initially I was gonna put 2 panels up here as discussed, but then I was like, what the hell, I'm already doing this. So I had to move both of my bars, the front and the back, to adjust them to where the panels are. And then as you see, I have actually added eye slots, eye bolts, right? So I didn't really have to. What the hell, So I could have used the bolts, but I don't know what size bolt, because as you see with this, there's not a lot of room, and this just... So this is going to come off tomorrow. I'm still waiting for the lock washers. Right now I just kind of tightened it, just enough to kind of give myself some understanding of where things are. But as you see, the 3 panels actually fit here just perfectly. At this point, I have all the bits and parts that I need, including the tools, believe it or not, for all the years that I've been doing what is it with that train? For all the years that I've been doing solar installs on all of my motorhomes in RVs, I've never actually had MC4 connector crimper tool. So I'm gonna be wiring that panel running wires this way, and this panel this way, and that panel, and there's going to be 3-into-1 Y splitter for all three. I am going to be adding eye bolts probably along the way to adhere the wires to. If I'm really lucky, I might be able to put some wires through the eye bolts. If not, no big deal. Or maybe I can. I don't know. We'll see. Either way, because this whole thing detaches, the wires that I've previously put, that are right there, they're going to sit right there, and then I'm going to be able to disconnect them at will, even when the whole roof comes off. Now, eventually, this is not going to be living on my truck full time. Okay, that's just, it's going to be dangling and hanging somewhere. We're gonna cross that bridge when we get to it. For time being, while I'm doing the install, I wanted to make sure that everything is kosher. Now, I did have some brouhaha with the batteries. I ordered 2 El Cheapo trays, and then what I found is they're far bigger than the battery, which is no big deal. But, oops, let me just safely get down. And so, what I have learned, unbeknownst to me, while the battery is correct size, the space in here is bigger than the tray. And well, here that wouldn't have been that big of a deal, but it still sticks out too much. So I went on some journey of trying to figure out whether it would be financially feasible to, you know, cut it up into pieces and just put a battery on it and then adhere things. And then for kicks and giggles, I tried a 50 cal ammo boxes, and much to my surprise, the batteries that I ordered fit inside perfectly. So I went ahead and ordered myself a second 50 cal box. So one is going to be here, adhered to over there, and another one is going to be here, adhered to over there. That way it's going to fit all this hunky-dory stuff. I still haven't rehung this. This is on my to-do list. Anyways, so tomorrow and well, tomorrow is Saturday, so Saturday and Sunday I'm gonna be full-time basically wiring everything. So I'm like, this over here was specifically wired for the batteries 3 years ago, which I still haven't adhered. So the actual connection of batteries and everything else is going to be super duper easy because it's already here. If you notice, there's 10 gauge wires, and because I'm not going to be running any kind of craziness over here, that's going to be more than plenty for all the needs and everything. So I'm actually going to run 10 gauge wires to the studs over there from each battery. Charge controller is going to be connected to the studs that you've seen up front, and then the power is going to come here and there. All this stuff. This over here is already wired, as you can see. I think I've already talked about it previously, but I have significantly cleaned up the cables, and then, you know, there's going whichever 2 buttons work for the lights over here. I was actually very surprised. They were bright. So I don't know if I talked about it in previous video, but I know I talked about this. So this over here is for the ditch lights that are going to be in the back. But I have removed 4 gauge cables that went from here under the frame that way, and replaced it with 14 gauge wires that go from here to over here, and then from here basically that way. And so I terminated the wires in such a manner that I'm gonna be able to splice into them, so that I could in the future put the rock lights and everything like that. So that's all that matters. And again, I don't plan to wheel in the dark, but sometimes, oh, here, you can kind of sort of see the wire in the frame over there. There you go. So I don't plan to be wheeling in the dark. It's not something I'm particularly in the mood for. My goal is to get back from the trails during daylight and everything. This up here, those two wires are basically the wires that's going to be going from here into downstairs to where the battery bank and solar charge controller is. And all the wires coming off of here are just going to ziggy-zaggy up here and basically connect to these. And then when I remove the tent, it just disconnects and all the stuff. And I did buy rubber caps for MC4 connectors, so that they're going to be waterproof and dustproof and all that stuff. And this weekend I'm gonna be learning how to crimp MC4 properly. Historically, I've always done something like what you see here, where I put just regular ring terminals on this kind of stuff, or I plug it into charge controller. So I've never actually put together MC4, but I did watch quite a few videos on how to do that, and looking forward to that. So once all of this gets connected, what I plan to do next is just move the whole project along. I got a whole backlog of everything else that needs to be done. So that will free me up for all the consequent things. One of which is I'm gonna have to deal with my broken air conditioning over there that decided to leak out all the Freon during the hurricane. The last one that we had, Hurricane Milton, passed as a Category 2, and unfortunately from that side of RV, the furthest one from here, it ripped the tarp. That's the reason why you see it without the cover. And I'm gonna have to, well, it's a double whammy. It leaked the entirety of Freon because of loose connections that dangled in the 100-mile-an-hour winds, but also I've discovered how hired help didn't do a good job soldering things to things, and because of, anyways, I'll talk about it later. So the line is going to be replaced as well, and I got the tools for that as well. So there's going to be another thing I'm going to learn how to do, which is why I'm so keen on finishing all of this, so that I could finish all of that and actually get ready for my summer trips and everything. So this is it for rambling today, and I'll see you tomorrow. Chilly morning here in Florida, working outside again. Yesterday I washed off the top of the rooftop tent and blew it off with the leaf blower, but between the condensation overnight and all this other stuff, the roof is a little bit wet, so waiting for it to dry. But in the interim, working on this contraption. So as I've mentioned before, the battery, which is this, fits into 50 cal box just perfectly. So that's kind of how that goes. And what I'm gonna do is, well, put two of them, and you can see I just screwed in with 4 screws over there. This isn't supposed to be super fancy or anything like that. And this goes inside of it and sits over here and sits over there, connects to the studs on this side and connects to the studs on that side. And then once this is done, I'm gonna need to do wires and connect them from the battery to the studs, and then obviously put the panels up and all this other whoop-de-doo that I have to do. So it's gonna be a busy next couple of days, just tinkering along and whatever. I cut some foam from the rooftop tent into pieces so that I could actually line the box on the bottom and shove it probably on the side somehow if I can. If not, no big deal. I just don't want it to rattle over there. Alright, so before I break for a quick snack, I thought I should record it. The foam obviously was too thick. I think I'm gonna stick with cardboard, but I did stick a bunch of foam in the back and on the bottom to kind of lock it into place. And then I'm gonna take some cardboard and just squeeze it in there somewhere. So as you see by this wire over here, this is for the fridge. And the way that works is I have two, I don't know, it just seems to be like a trend. For me, I buy two of everything, but I have two batteries for the IceCo. You know, the ones that are like magnetic and stick over here. Theoretically, I didn't even need any of this, but you can't have too much power, and the needs always expand, this and that and the third. So there's that. Sometimes you have horrible days and there's no sun, so you can't have, you know, charge. Better be safe than sorry. So the way this works is the batteries get plugged into here to get charged, and then the wire goes from the battery up here. If you notice, there's no fuse. I may revisit that. I may. The keyword is may. The jury is still out on the whole fuse situation. But whatever. In any event, so this is done on this side, and that is done on this side. One of these plugs is going to fit into the battery. It's either going to be this one or one of the two. And so I'll have to test that. I know it goes in the hole of the battery, but just which specific one, it doesn't actually say on it, very unfortunately. I wish it did. So that's over here. That's over here. My next phase is to take the wires and basically run things that way, and then connect the solar panels and everything like that. Before I go, I need to check my roof, make sure that it's dry. Otherwise I'm gonna have to air blow it again and just kind of tinker. So this is the tool over here. I have no idea how I didn't have a crimper like that. I had a crimper that I bought at Harbor Freight, but it doesn't do what this one does, and apparently this one is specifically for MC4 connectors. And the thing about MC4 connectors is if you get them wrong, you can't like get them out. So this is what I cut off from these wires. So I didn't make a mistake, I just cut them off. But like, there's no way to disassemble them and get the wire out. You could disassemble this piece from that piece, but the metal piece sticks into place over there. So I have a whole bunch of extra MC4s here and in the house, just the same. So I'm gonna be doing some wiring later on after my quick snack, and come back to this. Okie dokie, so my first ever crimp. So here's what I've learned. When they ship the tool, the dimensions here are in millimeters. They do sell these exact, like here's the irony, right? Like you could see how this is AWG 13 to 10 and this is in millimeters, right? So it doesn't actually tell you what. So I looked at identical crimpers and determined that on the ones that were actually list what gauge wire, it was this one. That's why I marked it. I have at Walmart purchased a black and a pink nail polish on Walmart, like dollar sale or whatever it is. And I've been marking things and just getting chips off my old pickup truck that I used to have. And so it's very handy to mark this. So the 10 gauge wire goes into 6mm hole on this. The actual crimp came very easy. You just put the, put like this little doohickey over there. By the way, put the plastic bits before you even get to this point. And then you just crimp it. And the actual crimp, it kind of bends it in there, as you can see. And this is where it gets really weird. Like there's a male and a female termination, and a male and a female connector. Now I'm not gonna bore you with the birds and the bees, but it's just ridiculous that the male goes with the female and the female goes with the male. It's kind of like counterintuitive. I don't know why they designed it like this. But the next phase would be to take this and put this up here and then tighten the rest of this stuff. So what I've done is I've measured how much wire I need. Let me close this for a second. And come up here. So I adhered this with VHB, all 3 panels. And so 30 amp fuse, and then 3-into-1 Y splitters. And and so this is the other one over here. So what I have measured is from here around the tent. Look at this. I just washed this yesterday. Stupid birds. Anyways, going around that way to basically here. Now it is cut a little bit longer, just in case I screwed something up. And then this wire is going to be shorter, but obviously smidge longer than I need. And then I'm gonna be running wires from there this way to terminate into this and into that. So because I was doing so much crimping and custom measuring and everything, I was like, you know what, let me just get the proper wires and proper tools. And besides, considering how much solar I do, I still find it ridiculous I haven't bought the crimper yet up until right now. So this is anchored and spaced properly to, for each panel. Now what's gonna happen today, I'm supposed to be getting lock washers through Amazon. So the panels are actually coming off, but right now I need them right where they are so that I could actually run the wires and everything like that. And then I'm gonna be undoing the eyeballs and removing the rubber grommet that's over there, and instead of it put in the lock washer. Now this is sitting pretty tight, but I just don't trust it enough to do what it needs to do, if you know what I mean. So I would rather invest into lock washers. Unfortunately, the bolt for this is just a smidge too long. Whatever, I'm not even gonna bother grinding it off. So that's kind of the reason for the lock washer. But my goal is to cut and splice and crimp and all this other stuff and wire this up and getting along further down in the process. In anticipation of getting my lock washers, I went ahead and took the panels off. So these are adhered with VHB tape, and so far there's been a pretty decent seal. I just looked at this over there, don't like that. I need to put some weight on it so that it adheres properly. But yeah, all the other wires are cut. I'm just kind of in a holding pattern. Once I get the lock washers in place, I'll be able to connect all the cut wires and la-ti-da. Alright, so today is another day, and here tinkering with this. As you see, this thing is blinking over there. If you look at that light over there on this side. So the blinking light is good. It means that it's charging. This is for the battery. Now, by the way, this is like my first time ever getting a simpleton charge controller. This is a PWM. This isn't MPPT. For my motorhome and for all my previous RVs, I've always used MPPT controllers with display and everything like that. So this is as simple as you could possibly get. And I think this was like 24 bucks or something like that. I'm still kind of on the fence whether that was a good decision or not on my part. I know a lot of times nowadays they want you to resort to Bluetooth and tap into it, but honestly, on my motorhome, while I do have Bluetooth, I have never ever used it. And I have 3 charge controllers and Victron battery management system and the whole caboose, and I have never there's just something about like a display of what's happening. Back in the day, I used to have a Renogy PWM with actual LCD display. So I think what I'll do eventually is probably go from this to something with an LCD display, just for peace of mind. That being said, I'm a little bit, well, I guess that's a lack of planning on my part. So that over there, this red light, is the same thing that I have on my motorhome. It's a TST tire pressure monitoring system for anything that you tow. The way I've connected it initially, it was connected to the shut-off switch that was over here, so this was never on. It's on now 24/7. Now, with this over here, this is on 24/7. So I may have to address that in the future. I have no idea how much power this uses or what, because there's no LCD, so I think it's conceivable that I may have to unfortunately put the shut-off switch here. I don't know if I want to do that or not, because that will further complicate things over here. It might be just easier to put a shut-off switch over there and then over here, but who knows. So I still haven't moved this, as you can see. The wire is still very much here. I am still on the fence with what I want to do. I kind of sort of realized that if I move this over here, I'm not gonna be able to see it from this side. The only way I could see it is either from that side or this side. And paying attention to the blinking lights is kind of sort of important, if you know what I mean. So I'll deal with it. Unrelated to this, as you know, I've installed the Milford supports, you know, to support the rooftop tent and everything like that. And I have heard this really weird sound for like 3 or 4 weeks after installing this. And I'm like, what? I just can't figure out what specifically was causing it. The clamps, I'm talking about these, every single one of them was loose. So what happened was, as I was tightening the Milford things, which, you know, did their job basically by clamping this to that to that, they loosened all of the C-clamps. So I had to go back and tighten them. I was actually sitting here wiring, and I put my hand like up here somehow, and this whole thing moved, and I was like, whoa. And then I checked every single one of them, and they were all loose. So there's that. So I've already tested the switch panel, and these lights over here light up, which is really awesome. I still haven't wired these lights or the underside lights. I'm gonna leave that to a different video. I think that's appropriate, more or less, if you know what I mean. Yeah, so on to this. Let me just climb up in there. Alright, so 3 panels installed. Sometime this afternoon what I'll do is I'll tighten the eye bolts over there and over there on all 3 panels. As I was slapping them on, I only tightened the ones on the ends as I was doing that. I had a problem with this one over here. What happened was, I have no idea how it happened, but this panel was crooked and it was sticking out beyond the little, like, see this hump over here? The one that goes on that side, it was sticking out. So quite unfortunately, I had to remove the whole thing, and I've discovered that the track itself bended as I was doing that. And so I was trying to hammer it out with a 2x4 rubber mallet, and then using that as a level. I have hammered it back to flat as much as I could, and as I'm looking here, there's still a little bit of gap. So I think what I'll do is I'll put some weight on this and let VHB kind of take over and do the rest. This side actually adhered fine. That has a couple of gaps in there, but as you see, I tidied up the wires. Everything goes here, you know, with extensions and everything like that. I did have one of the extensions, like MC4 connectors, break as soon as I took it out of the bag, so good thing I had a whole bunch on hand. So I've also discovered that the Renogy panels are not that happy to receive third-party MC4 connectors. I guess in manufacturing process so you have to put a little bit of elbow grease. So anyways, this is all zip tied, tidied up, and 30 amp fuse right over here. This is about, I'm gonna say, probably close to 10 years old now. I have never used it, so I finally found a way to implement it, because what the hell. It's been, here's the interesting thing. If you look at the color of this versus the color of this, has been sitting in my closet for 10 years. Look at that. Like, there's no UV. So clearly this was the color of the plastic, initially by Renogy. So whatever, but in any event, so the wires are going, doing their business. You know, I'm just gonna give you like a slow pass. I am leaving the bars up here. I still have no idea what I could possibly use them for, but it's better to have them and not need them than the other way around. So this over here is going over the rooftop tent, and let me just reposition myself. So over here, this tent is going to open, right? And so as it opens up, wires are going to move. So this is a little bit loose. I may have to make it even looser. And then it kind of goes here. I put a wire loom on top of it and tuck the rest of the wires in there, like there in the crack. So I think this is it for this video, and I'll continue on with the other videos too, because I still need to, I have like tons of projects left on the Jeep. So number one, rock lights. They are the least priority in order of things. Higher in priority, I have lights to install here. And I have been kicking around the idea of possibly relocating this. But then I started looking at the price and I almost had a heart attack. So my Blue Ox, not Blue Ox, Road, what is it called? You know what I mean. Tow bars for the motorhome, there you go. Let me see, having a brain freeze. What the heck is it called? This one over here. Roadmaster, there you go. That stuff on the back right there. So the Roadmasters typically connect to a tow bar on the front of the Jeep, and normally there's like a doohickey underneath, but that kills your approach angle, and then if you damage it, how the hell are you gonna tow it? So they sell adapter kits for your D-rings, and that's how I've been towing my Jeep. If I was to install the bar where these wires are actually supposed to be, they're like $480 something plus dollars. I was like, what the freaking A? So either way, I have big lights that need to be mounted, and they're like 6-inch. If I mount them here, they're gonna block the lights over there. So I still have some thinking to do about how ideally at least 2 of them would be mounted here. I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So that's one of the projects. You know, the ditch lights are going to be mounted here somewhere. It's less of a priority as well. And I hope, at least for now, I'm gonna take a break from the Jeep to go and do other things. And then I'm gonna be running this basically non-stop and seeing what the limits of this thing are. You know, because summer season is coming up shortly, so this is going to be quite handy. Alright, enough of rambling. Till next time. Yet another weekend, and continuing to work on the pickup truck. This time dealing with the electrical. I may have gone a little bit overboard in terms of my wiring to the back of the Jeep. Reason for that is there's not enough terminals, so I'm having to make some decisions. Now, as previously noted, you know, I'm putting lights up here. 2 of them are going to be amber lights, and 2 of them are going to be haven't decided which yet. So because this is just a cover, and the cover snaps to basically all of them, so theoretically I could have all 4 of them be amber. Doing the wiring for that, ripped out all of the wiring for everything. All these lights over here, I have never ever used them for anything other than just to test if they work. But what I've discovered in the process is, because I've wired so many things for like to go to the back, I don't have enough ports. So as I'm making these decisions about what to have, you know, in there, another thing that I've done is I've actually removed this entire thing from the wall where it is, because it's impossible to wire. My advice to you guys, if you are doing any kind of wiring, do it like in an accessible area. It's just this design over here, it's kind of stupid if you ask me. I mean, it works, but it's kind of stupid, because if you notice, the ports to access electricity are like here, right? And then you have to turn the wires this way, and then they start sticking out the back. In my opinion, the more proper way would have been is to have all the wires just hanging like this, like it is normally speaking, but I didn't make this, so whatever. I'm also taking out fuses, replacing them with higher amperage fuses. These ones are going to go out in a minute as I'm wiring them. And also, if you notice, new addition to the channel, I got me a crimping wire ferrule kit. That way I'm gonna be going forward on, I have no idea why, I've never even thought about it. So one of the decisions that I'm having to make so far is these lights over here come with high, low beam, and also amber. Amber I could care less about, so that's an easy one to remove. High, obviously keeping. Low, I don't know if I'll ever need low. So for time being, I'm just wiring, because like everything else takes precedence over the low. So if I have space for low, which is highly unlikely, I'll put them in. If not, I'll just take them out, because I got bigger fish to fry. I have like an extra wire. I know for a fact I have an extra wire, and maybe even two, and I just want to make proper decisions about how to do all of this in anywho. Before I continue rambling on, I'll just keep on trucking on. Also, another thing, this wire bundle over here, one has to be permanently affixed to the battery, because that's what I use for charging my battery while flat towing it. And the other one is to do with the radio. Initially I wanted to put radio on the switch, but because I'm running out, that's another decision I'm having to make. I'll just keep it connected to the battery as it was.